So we'll see how this all works. And you can see the chat room, right? Why is that all highlighted? Yeah. Matt McRoberts, Daniel Baker, Steve Rickyberg, Carol Donahue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 5:58. We're going to dive into a controversial topic today, a hot button topic. That is only a hot button topic, I'd say, every 3 or 4 years. And right now it is not a hot button topic.
Yeah, I think the last time it might have been was 2014 when you wrote that script.
No. Our colleague John Scalzi wrote extensively about it in 2018, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
All righty.
He's an interesting, good dude.
He's a good dude. That is true.
Daniel Baker says, "Oh, we can hear you." Yeah. So I'm bitching about my day. That's great. That's great. All right. So we have 3 people on YouTube. Things are just starting to boot up. We'll go live in 1 minute. We'll go live at 6 o'clock, y'all. That's what we're going to do. That's what I want to do. And here's this main script right here. Great. All right. Oh, babe. Well, I didn't get a chance to camera check you, so we'll do that.
We'll do it live.
Do it live.
We'll do it live. I don't see us.
Why are these all? This sucks. I can't even read these. Can you read these?
Yeah,
oh,
there
that
you
helps.
go.
There we go. Fuzzbubbles, sup? Nell Zone. Christine, how is everybody? All right, guys.
Dr. Daniel Baker, PhD. The photo you posted of the Bobby Burns 15 minutes ago was absolutely gorgeous. Look at how great that bar looks. Oh,
Baker's a food. He's a
it
food.
is
We know
true.
several foods.
Did you just decide to do this today?
No. I've talked about foods many, many times. Hi, Don.
This is twice in the same day that I've heard it.
Yeah, well, he's a food. He's a Dr. Food.
So why can't I see this on? There we go.
There you go, champ. There we are. All right, Dawn's back. Welcome.
Difficulties.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go live. Baby, are you ready to go live? In 3 and 2 and 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this live show. We are not fully prepared to... we don't have our cameras dialed in, but we'll get them dialed in now. Also, this is not Slay. Slay is not happening tonight. Also, this is not happening. The fuck, man? It's crazy. Crazy time. Let's go to your camera. Oh, yep, I restarted.
There we go.
Let's get our preview
Way better.
up.
Hi, look at how perfect that is.
That's
do
not
I do
bad.
this a little?
No, I would not. I would not mess with it.
Okay.
I would not mess with it. I'll just lean towards you, which is legal because we're married, so it's okay.
Hey, Rob Otto. Hey, Jude Stenson.
Rob
nice to see
Otto.
you guys.
Rob, I want you to know our dummy name. I was going to use Anthony Wanamaker Fairbanks III, but A had already put another dummy name in place. So not that Anthony Wanamaker Fairbanks III is a dummy, but I was thinking of you.
No idea what
today.
we're talking about.
Rob knows. Rob knows a lot of things.
Oh, in the script for today?
Yeah, in the script
I
for
see.
today.
Okay. I don't know what any of that means.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see. Welcome to SIGLERinPLACE.
Yeah.
We haven't done a SIGLERinPLACE in a little while. We've been doing the Slay reads, which is part of SIGLERinPLACE.
So we're going to get to work really quick, but first I want to do the normal intro stuff that we always do. Get that out of the way, then I'll tell you why we're not reading Slay tonight and what we're doing instead. As you already know, that we have a newsletter that comes out sometimes once a month, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. You can subscribe by going to scottsigler.com/newsletter. There is also a text that if you were signed up for, you would have received tonight or today in advance. Did you do that today? In advance
I did,
of this?
of course.
Yeah. To
I know my
remind you
business, girl.
about this and that. Do you have that number? Can you give the text number?
Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of that extra shine on your face.
It's just that I'm very shiny.
You're very shiny.
If you want to join that text,
What's up, Kale?
Honestly, this is not my purview here at Empty Set, but I think it's U.S. only. I'm not really sure. North America only? Do you know?
There are many nations that can partake in this.
Terrific.
And some that cannot.
Yeah. So try it if you want to. You'll get
Yes,
it.
Eric,
We will
feeling
never
better.
sell any of that info, but you'll get info if you need it from us. Or if you want
Christine
it from
in the chat room says she got the text. That is great. Ooh, that's very large.
us. Okay, you keep working on that.
I tried to change. I can't change it now. We're committed to that for the show. Go ahead, babe.
The last thing that I want to say is on the first Saturday of every month. This year it is. This month it is February 4th. The next one's February 4th. Our good friend Steve Rickyberg hosts a 7-hour-long happy hour. You can come and go as you please. I will be there when this happens. I missed the last couple because we were out.
It's huge, Tracy.
But
thank you, Eric.
Absolutely. It's super fun. You can drop in and out. You get to see junkies from all over the world. It's really, really fun. So come on if you want to. I'll be there.
Steve is an international businessman. Do you remember that show? We watched that show?
Yes.
That's a story for another time. But Steve is definitely an international businessman. He entertains people from all over the globe.
It's true.
In his 7-hour-long, I don't know how he does it, but he does it. Let's get rid of that. All right, baby, ready to get into it.
We are. So here's the thing. We have been starting this new experiment, as you guys know, in 2023. Go ahead.
I got to show something real quick.
Okay. I'll just wait here. We had to get a new coffee pot today. I don't even drink coffee, but we had to get a new coffee pot today. It was a whole ordeal. But we got it. We definitely got it.
This is primarily aimed at you veterans out there, particularly Navy veterans, and those of you who know people who have been in the Navy. Scott Pond and I have been working on a new thing. Scott Pond, our in-house designer. Mm-hmm. We've been working on a new thing for when the crypt comes out. Let's switch over to this camera. I cannot figure out how we get different color every time we turn this goddamn thing on. It's nuts. Here we go, and... So awesome. We've been working on this.
That, if you can't quite see it, is a PUV James Keeling hat.
Ignore the numbers; those will change. But the idea is to create. Let's go to your camera since I somehow have color dialed in yours. The idea is to make it a hat that is very typical of the ship-based hats. Right there, perfect. The ship-based hats that. Members of the Navy, veterans of the Navy, friends of the Navy, family of the Navy has. And we've run into some problems. When it's just straight stitched on, the stitching so far for the vendors we found have been pretty crappy. So we tried this patch, which is silk screened onto the patch and the patch is sewed on. It looks very cool. It doesn't look like a traditional Navy ship hat. So you guys, what do you think? Just throw that in the chat room. I'll go back and look at it. We're going to be dealing these when the crypt comes out. We still have to figure out, but that's the big question: is if you are a veteran, Navy veteran of any unit, does this look like something that would catch your eye and look like a regular Navy ship hat or unit hat? That is kind of what we are looking for. So if people walk by on the street and go, "What the hell is that?" Because the trick is, instead of we have the ship outline, but the ship outline is the real difference maker. So I think the white stitching detracts from it, but you guys get to weigh in on it. You're the first people to see it other than Scott Pond, and I hadn't even seen it yet.
Yeah, I hadn't even seen it. That's why I didn't know what he was doing when he got
yes.
up. But it's gorgeous.
Talk a little bit, babe.
I'm talking a little bit. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about we have so many celebrations that we're going to get to, but not this week because we've got a big script coming. Our good friend Akil got married in Hawaii last week. I mentioned that on the last SIGLERinPLACE. The pictures are gorgeous. Your bride is gorgeous. Your wedding was gorgeous. He also, on the way to the morning breakfast of the day he got married, wore a Kraken's t-shirt.
That's right. Mm-hmm. That's how it is done.
Our friends in Texas, the Chevrolet Sherwoods, have a couple new puppies. We'll show them to you next week. So if you have photos that you'd like to get in, we will do photos next week and updates and all that stuff.
Hey, guys in the chat room, thanks. The white stitching detracts. It doesn't look like a Navy hat. So we'll go back to the drawing board. But Scott Pond is working his ass off trying to figure this out. This and some other stuff. He's also got here for a new shirt that we will launch when we do the new store launch, which we are working away at. Rob says, can the script be in gold? Well, this is in yellow. This is in orange, yellow, orange, gold, whatever. All right, we'll come back to that, but just want to share that with you guys. Those are the little perks you get for tuning in live. All right, let's get into it, baby.
So here's the thing. In 2014, we did a series of YouTube videos. Scott did them talking head style with a director and a cameraman in a warehouse setting in San Francisco that was called So You Want to Be a Writer. And there were several versions of them. There's 6 videos that are currently up there now. If you go to Scott's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Scott Sigler, and search for So You Want to Be a Writer, you'll see all 6 that exist.
There's a little playlist for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have other scripts and other things that we wanted to make new playlists for. But 2014 was quite an enormously busy time in Scott's life, our life as a company as well, both. He moved to San Diego, lots of personal changes, all the things. So that setup where he had to write a director who could work with him and all that stuff, that sort of fell apart when he left for San Diego. So we're going to bring it back in this format because in 2014, we also didn't have a weekly live show. So we are going to talk about another section of the sort of the playlist that we have in our heads for So You Want to Be a Writer.
And this is cool. The How to Write Your First Novel, that is in competition with the Infected trailer for the biggest video ever done. 303,000 views of this goddamn thing. It's pretty amazing. Go ahead, babe.
Yeah. So we decided to bring it back in this format because that way people will still get the info. And you guys are already watching. And so if this is not your jam, you can come back on Sunday. You'll still get a Slay episode on Sunday. It will be something that was already live in this Wednesday feed, but
But
it won't matter. It's
to
super fun.
summarize, go to youtube.com/Scott Sigler. You can see that playlist there somewhere. I'm old. I don't know exactly where it is. Or you can just Google Scott Sigler, so you want to be a writer. Or Scott Sigler, how to write your first novel, and that will put you on the right path. And let's get back into it.
So this week we're going to do episode 7, as it were. And episode 7 is So You Want to Be a Writer, Should You Work for Free?
Yes, you should. Can we move on to drinking now? That's the answer.
Yes, here you go.
Oh, hey. Thanks. Cheers. Okay. That was our show, ladies and gentlemen. That was our show. Congratulations on me dumping that knowledge, splashing it all about your face. Daniel Baker says, why the drop off? Why the drop off after the first vid? Because the rest of the videos, going back to books, because the rest of the videos are not something that people search for on a regular basis. People search for, they're like, I want to write a book. How do I write my first novel? How do I write a novel? How do I become a writer? This video will pop up on those searches, and therefore, which we're going to talk about in this script, it gets more clicks. Therefore, it gets more algorithm love. Whereas the second one, the Big Ass Binder, people do not search for things called the Big Ass Binder.
Not very often. And another thing is the dropping of new episodes in this playlist stopped 6 years ago.
That's a big part
that
of it.
also changes. So a lot of times you'll see something new in the feed. It'll bring up your thing. So we expect them to increase from here. But before we do more drinking, we do have a little more detail to go in than yes, you should give your stuff away from free.
Let's get at
it. So the first question, I think, is
terrible.
does...
Sorry, guys, that looks... I did that and I managed to not test it. That looks terrible.
And if we want to put this in the feed, we might not want to keep switching.
Okay.
Because
we're put it in the YouTube feed?
Yeah.
Oh, I doubt that we'll do that.
What? Okay.
So let's just get into it.
Yeah, let's just leave it like this.
Right there.
Yeah,
let's go.
Let's leave it like this. So maybe a little bit more detail first before just the yes answer, but TLDR, yes. But does this advice apply only to writers?
I think this advice applies to creatives of all kind. So if you are an artist, if you are a graphic artist, if you make things with your hands that you then want to sell, if you say you're aspiring to do a blog on drinking or drink creation or how to sew, anything like that, I think a lot of this stuff can apply. Mm-hmm. But I am a writer, and this is primarily a writer-based thing. But the general concept of things people tell you not to do, and I say, go ahead and do them, that applies to all different stripes.
Yeah, and I will say specifically about that that playlist that we just showed you, there are two, if you are any kind of a creative who is looking to get your creativity out into the big wide world, one, The Trap of Perfect, and two, the creator's website. Both of those are quite important. So you might look at those if you're not a writer, but you are a creative person. So
people actually like the bigger chat, but we'll go back to that in a second.
Yeah. Often for aspiring writers, the question that comes out most often, and the emails I get most often to our Contact Us line, is how do I get my work out there, and is giving it away for free still a valid method like you did?
And the baseline answer to this whole show, if you got to go to other things, is yes. But there's a lot of facets to that answer. Friend of the show, Vaughn Lowe, when I posted this on Facebook, posted, a wise man once said, if you are good at what you do, never work for free, or never give your work away for free. And there's a couple things to us. It begs two questions. The first question is, how do you get good at what you do, right? Mm-hmm. If you arrive at a place and you're already extremely talented at it, of course, you should charge a premium for your services and whatever the market will bear. But when we start doing a thing, we all absolutely suck at it. If you have any athletic background, the first time you picked up a basketball, you sucked. A lacrosse stick, you sucked. You didn't know what you were doing, right?
Totally true. If you have been here since the beginning of SIGLERinPLACE almost 3 years ago,
yeah,
we didn't know what we were doing.
We have and we still basically.
We kind of still don't, but we're at least a little more cohesive.
But the answer to how you get better at what you are doing is, yes, you can get training, or you can figure out how to do it on your own, et cetera, et cetera. But the baseline is repetitions, getting in your reps. The more you do a thing, the better you will be at a thing. The more things you will learn you had no idea you didn't know. You go out and figure out how to fix those things, and you gradually get better. So the more you do, the better that you get. It also begs another question, which is, how do you know when you are good enough at something that you have the privilege of charging for that thing and taking other people's time and other people's money? And that is a more complicated question.
Yeah.
If you're a newish creator, you don't know the answer to either of those. You're not good at what you do, or at least you're not nearly as good at what you do as you will be someday after you've got, 30,000 hours into those other adages. And if you want to be a creator, you have to figure out how to build an audience. And as your audience grows larger, that's a good indication of that you're getting better at your task. Quick side note, the example I often use is Stephenie Meyer in the Twilight series is one of the biggest cultural events in the history of mankind.
Absolutely.
Bar none. Massive. Most established writers, when she came out, were appalled at the quality of the writing. But she was good enough, beyond good enough, to attract a huge audience that loved what she did. So good is a relative term. If your work finds an audience, that is a good way to say that you are good at. Okay.
And the chat room on Facebook, Thomas DeTrault said, practice makes proficient. And that is a hugely important indicator about when you should start trying to monetize your work in any way.
And there's a military phrase I got from Chris Grawl, which is embrace the suck, which is things are going to be crappy. And embrace the suck in the military world is one thing. In our world, it's another thing. In that if you think you're good at what you do and you just started at it, you are a fool. You're terrible at what you're doing. I was a terrible writer when I started out. I think in the chat room, most people who have a skill set, a premium skill set, when they started out, not good at that thing because you have to learn. So with that adage of if you are good at what you do, you never should do it for free, you have to get good at what you do first, and you also have to know when you're good enough to do that. So we're going to focus on the writer field analogy. I got a couple notes here. As a creator of any stripe, once you enter the marketplace, it is a marketplace filled with stiff competition of people who are already good at what they do, already have an audience, already can command attention and dollars for what they do, right? So I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to turn back to writing with a little joke. Ready?
I'm ready.
A nun, a rabbi, and an imam walk into a bookstore.
Somebody modified the script.
Yeah, I modified the script. You think this is going to end dirty, but it's simple. So all three of them have enough money to buy one book. They go in the bookstore together, and let's say they look at a particular bookshelf of stuff the bookstore is recommending, right? Or not recommending, just a bookshelf. Let's say there's Stephen King, Blake Crouch, Mary Shelley, and Sandra Campbell Flippin.
No.
All of these books are $25. Now, most of you in the room have heard of Stephen King. Most of you heard of Mary Shelley. You probably heard of Blake Crouch, who's a giant big star right now. You probably haven't heard of Sandra Campbell Flippin. A typical reader, a typical consumer of entertainment is going to take that $25 they have to buy this one book for the month, and they're going to hedge their bet and buy a book by somebody who's a bigger name. Stephen King, if you go on Amazon, look at reviews, hundreds of thousands of reviews of his work. Sandra Campbell Flippin, if she's even on Amazon, one or two. What do you do with that? Most people I only have this $25 in this much time. I'm going to go ahead and go with the known quantity.
But I also may not even understand those other writers. I think Stephen King I would, but Blake Crouch or whatever, I might not remember that, but I might remember that he had a phone call with one of his pals and he was talking about that. And so it feels more familiar too. So any amount of outreach is better than no outreach.
Yeah. Eric Fisher in chat room says, the people who ascend to higher levels are the ones who are willing to put in the work when everybody else would have given up because it is a grind. That is a fact. Definitely
that is a factor for sure. It's not the whole thing. You can't work so hard that you become Stephen
You also
King.
can work very hard at a thing you're terrible at.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
never get good at it.
Yeah.
But imagine now, let's take our nun, our rabbi, and our imam. And let's imagine, instead of them, 1,000 people every hour are experiencing the same thing as they browse Amazon, as they browse Audible, as they look on the internet. How does Sandra Campbell Flippin compete against these known quantities that already have the dominant slice of the pie chart of the market share? One way is she can give her work away for free. Now, if it's $25 for Blake Crouch, Mary Shelley, and Stephen King, and $0 for Sandra Campbell Flippin, now she has a competitive advantage. Mm-hmm. She gives you a reason to say, you know what, this will probably suck, but I'll take a chance on her. And if I don't like it, I throw it out after 3 chapters and I go, and then I spend this $25 on Stephen King I was going to buy anyways. And this goes into a concept of economics I learned in college that I'm not good at explaining, but I'll do my best. In that every economy is a pie chart of consumers. There are this many consumers who are available to buy a certain thing. Stephen King has like 95% of that. When you are able to, and Sandra Kippa-Flippin has one tiny 1% of this thing. And that amounts to X amount of sales. But if the pie grows extensively larger,
which is customers buying, her tiny shred of the marketplace now becomes a lot more people, even though she has the same percentage of the marketplace. So when you get on the internet, if you're giving things away for free, she can increase her percentage of the marketplace, and the marketplace is much larger. In a nutshell, by giving away for free, she's got a chance to compete in a way that Stephen King can't. He can't give his stuff away free because it's all tied up in the place. Go ahead. Yeah. And also doesn't need to, but that's irrelevant in this point of the conversation. What's really important to me right here as a creative adjacent, not a person who writes or creates anything, is this. For me, from a reader perspective, which is how I interact with this marketplace, this seems like a fantastic deal. If I like the cover, if it strikes my fancy and it's free, I scan something and get an ebook, or scan something and get an audiobook, I get a free literal book. I'm going to take that. There's no harm there, because in my mind, I'm like, if this is not fiction for me, if this is not a story for me, I'll just donate it. However, I wonder if you, as an actual creator, worry about people thinking you get what you pay for.
Yes, and we're gonna ask about that in a second. Let's jump to the chat room. Great question. Oh God, I'm having so much trouble with this, you guys. This is us not knowing what we're doing. Let's go ahead and expand this a little bit. What the hell? What the hell? Hold on, we'll get it there. We're gonna get it there. Mike asks, do you see any increase in visibility when you drop those video trailers for your books? Yes. For video trailers, things you can use for free promotion on the internet like YouTube, absolutely. That thing has, the Infected trailer has well over 250,000 views. How many of those turned into customers? I don't know. But if 1% turn into those customers, if 50 people see the video, 1% of that is X. If 250,000 people see it, 1% of that is X. So those things are very, very valuable. So
I'll just add one more thing, that those videos are currently evergreen on the internet, right? They're on YouTube all the time. So somebody finds something that's very funny that Scott does, or a dog video, or 2 cups, 1 pup video or something. And then he goes and looks up Scott Sigler. He might find them because there's no cost to us to leave those videos up forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So that's a benefit too. They're expensive to make, but they're worth, a good one is worth doing.
Nicely done, Peter. So yes, get what you pay for. That is absolutely a factor. But if it's free, you also get a corollary to that, which is, why not? It's free. You get what you pay for. You know, what's it going to hurt for me to download this free ebook on my Kindle and read it? I'm going to spend 15 minutes reading it, knowing it's going to suck. You know what? This is bullshit. I'll give it a try. Fuck this guy. Fuck Campbell Flippin. It's not even a real name. She sounds stupid. Buddy Campbell Flippin gets that 15 minutes. She gets that 15 minutes, and then, Joe Pesci's like, maybe it's not quite that stupid. I'll read 50 more minutes, but it's stupid. And then he's hooked, and he goes on. Now, a lot of people, because this is the nature of entertainment, you all have friends who have called you or texted you and raved about a show or a book or a movie and said, you got to see this. It's amazing. And then you go see it and you're like, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my fucking life. I am no longer your friend. And then you get over it and you are their friend again. But because
a lot.
tastes vary. So the goal of a creator is to get your work in front of enough people so that you find the people who happen to like the thing you do, which we're going to get into a little bit later.
Can I make one tiny point
go for
about what you just said? So it's super difficult when you really love a book and somebody is like, oh my God, I read that. That was the worst piece of garbage I have. Or like, oh my God, you read that stupid whatever, body horror, porn, whatever it is. Then if that happens to me as a person who's a hybrid publisher, I do this. Hey, do you like chocolate? Hey, do you like chocolate?
I love chocolate.
I don't like chocolate. I don't like the way it feels in my mouth. Actual candy chocolate. I don't. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Yeah. But if I say, I don't really like that kind of fiction, people get sort of personally offended, but it's exactly the same thing. People have different tastes, just different tastes. And some things are going to sell to some people and some things are going to sell to other people. And there's room in that pie for everybody.
So the thing I've learned in my many years of this is, by and large, despite all the BitTorrent stuff, despite all the piracy, most people don't mind spending money for something that they're going to enjoy, right?
100%.
So if you can get in front of them and educate the audience that your work is worth paying for, most people will not only happily pay for it, they'll post gifts saying, hurry up and take my money. People are desperate for things to spend their money on that they know are worth their money and worth their time. Giving stuff away for free is a way to go out and find those people who think the shit that you did is awesome. Okay, there we go.
So also a secondary question. The way you gave away stuff for free was podcasting. It was also 2005. However, it's kind of making a comeback. It's a resurgence. Podcast fiction is sort of coming back now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of working again.
It's working again. First of all, shout out to Heidi, our classmate at Sheboygan High School.
Hey, Heidi.
Heidi's in the chat room. What's up, girl?
I
What's
just
up?
visited Sheboygan for the first time ever last year.
Going back again next year. It's going to be very good. So let's call up. I have a chart, ladies and gentlemen. I have a chart. Let us go to this tab. Yeah, podcast fiction is back in a big way, and a big part of that was this number 6 right here, Welcome to Night Vale, which shook things up. But this is the Apple Podcast chart based on the number of people listening to episodes and also likes and how long they listen to an episode and a lot of other stuff, which means newer shows that are popular gravitate toward the top, like Bridgewater, and shows that were number 1 a week ago, like, Old Gods of Appalachia, tend to drop down. Perfectly normal chart type stuff. Welcome to Night Vale has been around forever. Almost all of these shows are full cast audio productions. Very different from how A and I made our bones building the company.
And very, very, very few are audiobooks, ebooks, or print books. Precious few.
Very few are straight up narrator read audiobooks. Mm-hmm. Most of them, these are like David Cummings' No Sleep podcast and Scary Stories Told by Dr. Sleep. These are multiple narrator short stories, but it's a completely different process. Most of them, like the Leviathan Chronicles by our friend Christoph Laputka, are where the money is right now is full cast audio. So those are very complicated. It's a few steps removed from making an actual TV show or a short movie, etc. So fiction podcasts are back in a big way. They're different than what we did. If you're an aspiring screenwriter, movie director, movie producer, these are wonderful things to get into and to give away for free.
And I'll just shortly add, the Adventure Zone that's here on number 9. I personally know Travis, who is one of the McElroys in this, the McElroys. And
it's very different.
It's absolutely fiction, but the way that his income streams work and his goals for getting his fiction out there never have to do with a print book, an ebook, or an audiobook. It's just a different thing. He does tours, he makes appearances, things like that. So fiction in podcasting has gotten a lot bigger.
So this is a little different. Most of these are advertising supported, so they're not technically giving away for free. But for example, up at the top here under Deep Nerd Media, Old Gods of Appalachia, which is really a major, major podcast, is right neck and neck with Marvel's Wastelanders, right? So this is a a creator created, that's a dumb word, but in other words, it's a nobody who started a thing.
It's somebody who carved out a niche, right?
Somebody carved out a niche, and they are head to head with one of the biggest brands in the history of entertainment, Marvel. So this is where giving things away for free. Oh shit, there's our old buddies. We're Alive right there.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is, so to answer your question, yes, podcast fiction is back. The thing that made my bones is back. It's a little bit different now. We're working on some things that may get us back to the point where just my straight up authorized audiobooks could be a thing, but we will find out. So it's harder to compete, but when you get people to spend their time on your stuff, then you can compete.
So where else then can creators of fiction give their work away to build an audience in a reasonably affordable way?
Reasonable, affordable way. If you are an individual creator, again, I focus mainly on writing, but this would work for comic book artists, for zine artists, for just about anything. Giving away PDFs of your work, right? Having stuff on your website for free and telling people, like, if you like this, go ahead and send it to other people. Making things that you are already committed to. I'm not going to make any money off of this. This is more of a calling card. This is advertising. And giving those things away for free can be a very good thing. You can give stuff away on your website, sites like Medium, Facebook, Tumblr's a little bit down, but that works. Putting things on Reddit, reading things on YouTube. Again, all of these things, you can place them, then you have to get people to go read them. But if you place stuff on a site that already has readership, that can be a good way to do things. And looking for places that already have an audience who consume things similar to what you are making. Again, we go back to Miss Campbell flipping. If she's going to give stuff away, it's best to give stuff away. Scott Christian's calling right now. What a douchebag. Rob Otto and Dan Baker, text Scott Christian and tell him he's a douchebag. So a side note, giving stuff away for free is not a magic bullet. It is not going to bring people to you. You put stuff up for free, then you still have to get people to go get that thing for free, which is a completely separate thing. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
And FYI, just in general, free tip, magic bullets don't exist.
John, you're not late. You're right on
Full
time.
stop. Only
right
in
on
Fortnite.
time. Yep.
That's it.
Okay.
So so you've talked about where you can give it away and what you can do. So about sites that already have an audience, you mentioned Reddit, you mentioned, things like that.
Yeah.
How can you give your stuff away for free there? Do they have a mechanism for doing that?
I think it depends on the site. So a lot of times we're talking about, there's one thing to give your stuff away for free, your own stuff, sharing it. Cory Doctorow was a huge influence on my decision to give everything away for free as a podcast, because Cory has one of my favorite quotes of all time. He gave away his stuff for free as PDFs, full novels. And people were like, you're crazy. That's going to get stolen and copied and shared. And Cory said, piracy is not my enemy. Obscurity is my enemy. So Cory was able to give his stuff away, and his stuff was good enough that people would get it, read it, and share it and post it to other places. It made his whole career. I mean, he's got Boing Boing. He's a very famous guy in different categories, but him getting known as a writer was basically because he gave his stuff away free and he built himself an audience. And so let's see.
If your enemy is obscurity?
If your enemy as a creator is by and large obscurity, until you can get that sliver of the pie chart that is willing to pay money for the work that you create, you can't do anything. And once you have that sliver, you have to try and make that sliver bigger. So sites, and this is where I'm going to get into this, where I have a difference of opinion with Scalzi and some other people of this category. Let's say there's a site that is running advertising, is making money, giving away fiction, for example. And this site asked you to write for free, or you offered to write for free for this site. What you're now doing is exposing your brand name to people who like the category of thing that you make. Do you get paid for it? No. Does somebody else get paid for your work? Yes. But I'm a journalism guy from back in the day. In journalism, going way back in the old time, you had to build a clip file. You had to write for local papers. You had to write for free. You had to write for magazines, anything you do. And you gradually built up a collection of clips. So when you would go in to apply for an actual job to get paid to write, you could bust out, in the old days, it was a book. Here's my clip file. You could flip through it. Like, oh, you wrote for this paper. You wrote for this weekly shopper. You wrote for this free thing. But the point was, you had written, it got published, and people put that thing that you wrote out there. Is that the difference between you getting a job or not? Probably, because it showed you had spent time in the industry. It showed you had worked with editors. It showed you knew how to make a story, make a deadline. All of these things are very important, even though you didn't get paid. It's not an exact apples to apples comparison, but it is in the ballpark of today. If you want to apply to write a story for, let's say, Tor, and you have no clips, no experience, no nothing anywhere, that's one thing, and they base it on the quality of your work. But it's also, if you like, I've been published here, here, and here, and here. They know it's free. People know that you did free work. You still had something published, right? So that's one way to go about it. We're going to get more into that. But writing fan fiction. There are sites dedicated to fan fiction. And writing free backstory for game developers. Reaching out to people like, I love this character. Do you need any backstory for this character in this video game that I absolutely adore? I'm not even charging for it. Yes, you're being taken advantage of. 100%. You also get to put that on your website. You get to claim credit for this thing. I did this work. That gives you got published in essence, and that's really good. And all in all, it's reps. You're in the gym, you're doing reps, you're getting stronger, you're getting better at what you do, and it lets people see your name. And in my opinion, at a lower stage of your career, that's always a good thing.
So there are quite established authors, many quite established authors, or on their way to being established authors, who are saying, like, just don't work for free. And I want to talk a little bit about whether or not that applies to how that applies, if it applies to aspiring authors. Should they listen?
Okay. This is where I have a difference of opinion with some people in the industry. The primary proponent of do not work for free right now, because whenever he posts anything, he's the primary proponent for that thing because he's just a huge, huge name in the world, is a gentleman named John Scalzi. If you haven't read John Scalzi's work, highly recommend it. He's got great, great stuff. And he is a big proponent of this. No, in fact, you should not write for free. I highly recommend you go to his site, whatever.scalzi.com. I highly recommend you read this piece if you are a creator and see what you think. He has a different take on it than I do, but the man knows what the hell he's talking about. So I say that to say this, that there are a lot of people in a lot of industries who say working for exposure is bullshit. You should never do that. Money flows to the writer, money flows to the creator, and that is the way things are going. But the reason you're reading most of these people's opinion is because they are established creators. They already have an audience. They have books out. They're a creator who makes widgets. They're at Comic-Con and people are lined up to get signed panels of their comic book. And these people don't have to give things away because they are already made, because they already command a premium, because they already get X amount of dollars for what they do. If you're John Scalzi or you're Stephen King, fuck no, you should not give your stuff away. You shouldn't write free for anybody. If Spielberg calls Scalzi like, I'd like you to do a free treatment for you, Scalzi should say, with all due respect, put a piece of coal up your ass, good day, sir, and hang up. Because John Scalzi demands a premium. But here's what I'm talking about. He has an audience. John Scalzi has paid his dues as a journalist and as a blogger. Mm-hmm. He's developed his skill by endless repetition. He's really good at what he does. People pay him for what he does. Also, he's in another level for this regard. He's published by Tor, a lot of his books. Tor spends a fuck ton of money to promote his books when they're out. He's got unique stuff out with Audible. Audible is using their massive audience to promote his work. He doesn't have to lift a finger to do any of that. He's got an audience. It's a growing audience. People like John are made dudes.
I do have one tiny nitpick with that article of that. No, in fact, you should not write for free that he wrote.
There's a lot of subtleties to it, but yeah, go ahead.
But the only nitpick I have is he specifically says any writing you shouldn't do for free, including personal blogs. And here's my nitpick.
No, I don't think he says that.
Yes, he does.
He's talking about another person's comment.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, he does not say that.
So here's my thing about it. John Scalzi's not wrong. This is a matter of opinion. That's what it is. It's an opinion. And you can choose any opinion you want. If you're Scalzi, you absolutely can. Here's my point. On this blog that he just took off the screen, on whatever, weekly, Scalzi posts a haul where he's been sent books, he's been sent stuff. Right.
He does.
And he doesn't get anything for that. It takes time and energy for him to make it, but he's a made dude and he's a good dude and he gives back. And he doesn't read every book that he gets sent. He never reviews most of those books, but he'll post a photo on this wildly successful website of the stack of books that he's received this week or asked to receive this week or both, so that we see them, which is labor for other writers for free. It's a little version of it, but it's true. It's there. He does that. And it's a beautiful thing.
Dr. Daniel Baker, PhD, says it's kind of a bizarro apprenticeship model. As an academic, it's wild to me. That's a different world. I'm sure it's related. I'd love to get into that another time. But the main point I'm saying is when you read advice by talented, hardworking people who have paid their dues, like John and many others, keep in mind your mileage may vary. John Scalzi doesn't have to, he's not holding out to get paid for a blog post so that he can put food on the table for his family. It's a completely different thing. And if you are not a made dude, I view giving stuff away as reps to get better at what you do and to create opportunities and to get to the point where you turn up your nose at, I do not work for free. There's a certain level of shit you have to eat along the path to get to that point. So your mileage may vary with those ideas. What you really want to do, it's about getting enough credits so you can get in the ring and start fighting for prize money.
Okay, so that's great. What do you mean by getting in the ring?
Okay, so this, I'm going to paraphrase. I wrote this part down. Can I have my other scotch here?
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Trade you.
Okay.
There's a gentleman, one of my favorite movies is called Pulp Fiction. There's a gentleman named Marcellus Wallace who's in Pulp Fiction, played by Ving Rhames. And I'm going to use this
How
quote,
dare you.
and I'm absolutely paraphrasing the hell out of this quote. But Ving Rhames says, "You came close, Butch. If you were going to make it, you would have made it by now. You would have made it before now." And an amazing performance by Bruce Willis. Butch has to sit there and listen to this guy tell him, if you were going to be the champ, you would have been the champ already. And it's a strange comparison, but what I'm trying to use that to is if you're starting out, you haven't made it yet. You haven't even got in the ring yet. You haven't got a chance to fight for the title because you're not even there. You have to get in the ring before you can make it. Getting in the ring in the world of creativity means being able to compete for paid work. Your goal is probably to get to the point where you can submit a story to a magazine and then they say, "I want you, here's our rate, you get paid." The other people didn't quite make it. Getting in the ring is fucking hard. I spent 12 years just trying to get into the ring, right? Just trying to get to the point where I could compete for writing jobs. Here's the thing. Now we're going to move into the conversation, art versus commerce.
Yeah,
if you want to be a writer, you can you can stay home in your office, your apartment, park bench, Starbucks, whatever. You can write all day long. You can write all the stories you want. If your goal is to make stories that made you happy to make a story, fucking go on with your bad self. You don't need no goddamn money. You can do that. The difference is when you start to make stuff and ask people to give you money for that stuff, you are competing for customer dollars. Until you do that, you can't, quote unquote, make it. So if you sit there and you're the person who's saying, "I won't compromise, I must get paid for my hard work," super cool, but you might be waiting for a very, very, very long time.
And FYI, as we move into this business conversation, if you're a person who says, "No, absolutely, this book is perfect at 1,000 words," or I'm sorry, 100,000 words, or 200,000 words, people may look at you askance as well. Like your perfect art is not necessarily the perfect product. So that's my question.
Yeah.
Doesn't what you're saying kind of make the creation into a product and a business?
Yep. Okay, so this is a concept. This is a thought process that I believe all my contemporaries who get paid money to write already know, but sometimes gets lost in the concept of artistry and being pure and being able to create the thing you want.
Hey, Kim.
The bottom line for me succeeding in any creative business is if you want to get paid, then you are worried about money, taking money for your work. So take a look at your future as a creator. If you want to get paid for the things that you make, if you want people to buy the stuff that you make, that means you are taking money for goods and or services, because there's OnlyFans. It's more of like a service, right? And if you take money for goods or services, you are a business. Flat out, full stop. You can be an artist and a business, but you're not just an artist. You are a business person. And you're commercializing your art, sure, but you're still commercial. It's art, but you're still commercializing it. And I screwed up. Let me get that one out of there. Thanks. So I wrote this down. It's very important. Art that you make, that you sell, becomes a commercial product. Independent of whether it is or is not art, there is no arguing with the fact if you sell it, it's a commercial product. And if you're selling stuff, that makes you a small business. Do you know anybody who's run a small business? Who runs a small business?
In fact, I do. We have a small business, don't you know?
My wife just got the vapors, and I'm like, "Whew, that's a good looking girl right there." Shit. So we have a small business. How long did it take us to build this small business to get to this life of luxury in this tiny office that we live stream from? Hi, Kim.
There's several questions there. How long did it take, and how much effort have we put into this? And I think both are essential and important. We put everything. Right now, we put everything we have into this business. But 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we started this in 2009 and we incorporated it in 2013. And so since 2009, we have put everything we can into this business. And I don't mean to say that you need to give up child rearing or a day job or anything like that. But I am saying if you're starting a small business, everything you can put into it will be asked of you if you want your business to be successful. We worked on a handshake agreement for 5 years because why? Because it was more cost effective than doing the business.
It was a handshake agreement because I couldn't pay A. It was a handshake agreement. It was like, I would like you to be involved in this. I think you're awesome at what you do. I can't do what you do. How about we go halvesies in the business? And I knew what A was making at the time, and A was making some solid coin. She had an hourly rate. She told me her hourly rate, and I'm like, that's never gonna fucking happen. Not in a million years am I gonna pay that. I not only would I not pay that, I can't pay that hourly rate. So I said, I'll give you half, and we own sweat equity on that.
Yeah, so sweat equity is what I was just about to say. That is as much as you can give to the success of your small business. Now, look, people pour sweat equity into a terrible idea or a terrible product until that product fails. But they are doing everything they can to make it work. There are also people whose circumstances affect them that they can't control. Like, Katrina happens and you had a
100%.
little art business in New Orleans. Nothing can be done about that from you. But what I mean by sweat equity is what you can do, you do to make your business successful.
Yep.
So I feel like sweat.
Good.
Oh, go ahead.
The word sweat equity. People are familiar with that for building a small business, working on your house. I'm going to do the work myself and not hire a plumber, etc. And then when I sell the house, I'll make that money back. Sweat equity is working for free. Sweat equity is working for free. Yep. That's what the word actually means, is you are paying with your sweat to go do a thing that you either will not pay other people to do or no one's paying you to do.
That's exactly what I was going to say, yeah. Mm-hmm. And the thing is about that, I don't regret it. Do you regret it?
No, not at all. Because you have something to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't think we talk about this a lot. Like, this is a big part of our lives, as you guys already know. You can see all our decor, everything is empty set. And I don't regret it at all, not a little bit. I do think, though, and this will be interesting to some of you, I do think we still work for free. We do a part of our marketing for our business is working for free.
Tons of it.
In other ways, now that Empty Set is established and this right now, hanging out with you once a week in the pandemic, live streaming is sweat equity.
Yeah.
We don't make money off of this on any platform, and we've been doing it for almost 3 years because it's important.
So the gist of this is, if you are out that you're busting your ass, you're out there reading things, and people are telling you not work for free, we are offering an alternative take on not work for free. Because our work for free built us the audience of people who are happy to pay their money to buy the things that we make, which is why we have a business. So when you're listening to people, if you are consuming advice from people who are saying there's no reason to never work for free. If you're good at what you do, you should never work for free. You should be paid for it. Most of the people writing that are writing it as they type on their keyboard because they're ducking the people throwing rolls of 50s at their face. Can't do it. Like, people are literally throwing money at their face and they're writing and saying to you, don't work for free. That's a little bit harsh. I admit that's a little bit harsh. That's not what they're doing, but keep it in mind. To be brutally honest, let's get back to Marcellus Wallace, my man Marcellus Wallace, for a bit.
Okay.
If your skills and your abilities were in demand enough that you're already getting paid on a regular basis, you wouldn't have to work for free. But if no one's trying to kick in your door and give you shoes made out of money and belts made out of diamonds, you got to get your brand name out there. You got to get that brand name recognition so that people will pay you for your work. And that's what working for free or giving stuff away for free is sometimes all about.
Yeah. And
hi, Chris.
You sometimes often describe giving away work for free or working for free as marketing.
Okay.
And so we'll wind all this together to say that I think that's also marketing and working for free.
Yeah. So I have a BA in marketing, my second degree, first one's in journalism. So I study this shit a little bit. Established companies advertise. Every time you watch TV, you see that shit. These companies not only advertise, they pay other companies to write the advertising for them. So they spend money to have another creative make advertising. Then they take that advertising, they pay other people to run the advertising. And this is a necessary part of being in a successful business these days. And a lot of people shit on marketing. A lot of people are like, marketing's evil, marketing's blah, 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 this crap, blah, 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 this. It's very simple. I define marketing as finding the people who would be happy spending their money to buy your product. Marketing is basically, how do I go out and find the people who want to throw wads of 50s at my face because they love what the fuck I make? Established companies that make products that want to sell them to people, they do all of this stuff too. You may not have $1 million advertising budget. Do you have $1 million advertising budget? Giving stuff away, sweat equity, all of these things. This is a different version of the same animal. This is marketing that you can afford because it's fucking free.
Okay. So we've established this hour that it's people can work for free, but people are worried about giving away their big ideas so that they're out there in the great big world or writing great things, but for somebody else and not their own stuff. What about that?
Chris and McQuaid in the chat room says, the only free things I do are for my church and scouts. Bless you. Why don't you, in the chat room, tell us what you do for a living? And then we will get back to this. And you just asked me what I mean by...
Yeah. Talk a little bit about what you mean by saying that people can't... So some people say they can work for free, but they don't want to give away their good ideas or their best writing to somebody else. Yep. So talk a little bit about that.
So I go back to Cory Doctorow, right? Piracy isn't his enemy. Obscurity is his enemy. If people don't know who you are, why the hell are they going to pay money for your stuff they don't even know exists? So let's say you have the big idea. You've got Rob and I have 100 of them. Rob Otto, my screenwriting partner, and I, 100 things like, boom, $1 million. We've got a lot of ideas. We haven't got paid for them yet, but we will. The really good ideas we have, we're not giving that shit away for free. We're saving that, keeping that in the back pocket, you know? But we have a lot of other things that aren't as good as the big idea. Like number 5 on the chart, right? And Casey Kasem, number 5 on the chart. We give that shit away for free. Like that's a thing we can give away free. This is really cool. We can do a good job at it. It's not the thing that we think is going to be our legacy. Don't necessarily give away a legacy, but again, go back to the basics. Writing fan fiction, writing for existing blogs and sites, writing stuff that people are asking for. Like I need someone to write about the NFL this week. You can go, stuff you could go do for free. Coming up with something that's contemporary in the marketplace. I remember, and I've been writing for a long time, 20 years or so, as a pro. And there was a time when my agent was like, where's your vampire book? I'm like, I don't want to write a fucking vampire book, dude. Okay, now werewolves are big. Do you have a werewolf book? No, I don't have a fucking werewolf book, bro. But if you're writing for free, write the fucking werewolf book. That's a thing you can give away and learn, get reps, learn how to market, learn how to share those things. That's the general idea. Because again, it all goes back to reps. If you're not getting paid for what you do, you can work on your skill and still keep giving things away. So giving stuff away is twofold. You're trying to build an audience. You're getting better at your craft.
So we have a couple of questions that I want to address in the chat room. You asked what Chris McWhite does, so read that.
Okay,
I do want to talk about that because it's a terrific example.
Chris says,
but no, you read that and get caught up. While I say Eric Fisher says, or I'm sorry, Rich Hosek says, if you think you've already written your best idea, then maybe consider stopping while you're ahead. And this is a little hard, but what it made me think of is very new writers, writers who have literally been toiling over a short story or a novel for 6, 7, 8 years as they grew into their writer self. And I'm not sure if you should stop writing I think you should just get more life experience and then go back to writing because you already have the writing experience and you just need something to write about. That's my take on that. That said, if you have one story idea and you're sure it's the best thing that has ever been written, you're wrong. You're wrong. You are absolutely wrong. And what you need to do is not say, this is my best thing. I have to find somebody who sees it the same way I do and publish this 300,000 word novel. You have to get more life experience and figure out if you want to make your art into commerce. That's my take on that. But Chris McWhite, of course, said an interesting thing about scouts and church, and he is a municipal building.
So this is, going back to Chris's answer, did I miss it? Is it?
No, it's a
there it
little
is.
bit, yeah.
Chris says I'm a 23-year-old, not 23-year-old. Chris, you look 23-year-old, Bubba.
You do.
You do. He's 23-year professional municipal building official. You know, permits and construction inspections. Not when you're but not when you buy a home person. Anyway, the point is, I'm not sure that falls into the creative area of things.
It doesn't, but his creativity is what he gives away for free, I think.
Okay.
Because he gives away his time and energy to the Boy Scouts of America. And to his church.
But for this is a differentiator. So if you have a thing you do as a day job, you work at a factory, you own a pizzeria, things like that. I'm not saying those are not creative, but those are more of a well-defined, specific path career. You go get this training, you get this job, you get this job, you learn this, you go to this job, you go get this thing. We're talking more about the creative side of things, which is I want to make up some shit in my head that would not exist without me, and then I want you to give me money for that shit. They're different things.
But I think Chris's point is a good one. For him, it is not worth monetizing his creativity. He has a job for that. What he monetizes or doesn't monetize is how he interacts with a young scout or how he makes the organization better or what he does for his church. Those are things he can be creative with, and he doesn't need to monetize that. And I think that's valuable because that's me. I did, in the beginning of the pandemic, I did a series of SIGLERinPLACE just because I had nothing else to do and I figured I would share. And I had the time, but a lot of people would reply to those comments or those videos and say, you should bartend, you should put out a book, you should do a Patreon. And we're like, yeah, I don't.
You should, but that's not what we're trying to sell.
I want to just be creative. I don't want to monetize this.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we said earlier. A likes to create her art and doesn't give two wet shits about getting money for it. That's beautiful, man. That's great. If that's your thing, fuck yeah. Fucking go on with your bad self. Do your thing, make it, be happy by it, and who gives a shit?
As long as I can still afford to live the life I want to live.
Correct.
That's very important.
So let's go back to Chris. I can't quite call it up. Dang it, Chris. I waited too long. Chris says he started with Section 8, then elevated in municipal code enforcement, and later new construction inspections. Now is department head, building and zoning official. Chris McWhite did the reps. Chris McWhite did the reps. Fortunately, he was getting paid for the reps. If you get paid for the reps, if you got a buddy who's a writer on a show and he wants you to come be your buddy, be a writer on the show with no experience, grab that shit, dog. That's the creative equivalent to he has built up his knowledge base and his career to the point where he doesn't have to give away jack shit to do anything. So it's related but slightly different.
And we're running out of time, so we're going to summarize in a minute. But I wanted to say every one of us. I often say I'm a creative adjacent, and that I, as a professional, am not creative. And instantly, people come back with, "Oh my God, you're so creative! You do makeup, you do." Yeah, that's not what I said. I am not. I am a creative adjacent as a professional. I am a creative as a private person, just like every single one of you who hears my voice right now. If you're a good cook, if you're a good mom, if you're a good dad, if you're a good neighbor, those are all your creativity in your personal life. And you do that without monetizing it and every day, just like I do. And it's beautiful. This is specifically about making art into
This is about being a hoe. I want to get paid for my goods.
So
I want to get paid, dog. This is about getting paid for your goods.
We are actually running out of time. So I want to say, I think we should summarize a little bit.
Okay.
So should all creators be giving work away for free or working for free?
This is all situational. I got a couple notes here. Should you give your stuff away for free? No, it's not a should. It's not a must. You must. I'm not saying you have to give your stuff away free. Of course not. But I want you to keep in mind it is an option. If I want to get through to everybody, don't be afraid of giving stuff away for free. Number one, you're probably going to make more stuff. Don't let people who are ducking the rules of 50s tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Don't be afraid of free work because free work gives you reps, it builds your skills, and it can lead to paid work. It also adds to your clip file. All of these things are important. It's sweat equity, and sweat equity is a form of advertising in any business in the world. We'll tell you advertising is a must to perpetuating your business. You're investing your time and your talent to find an audience. And also, this is really important. The more reps you get, the more things you actually put into the marketplace, whether you get paid for them or not, you're learning how to not suck at what you do because you suck. When you start anything you start doing, trust me, I love you. You're fucking horrible at what you do until you get in enough reps to get better at it. Now, you may be gifted and awesome to come out of the gate. You are like this compared to where you will be. This is you sucking and succeeding. This is where you are after reps.
And I will add this to the creatives out there. If you're an artist, if you're a writer, if you're a musician, this applies to all of you. And I say it with literally all the love I have in my being. Understand that when you want your art to become commercial in any way, you want to do a live show, you want to do a gallery, you want to publish a book, you want to do any of that, it is no longer your art. It is a product. And a product needs a pathway to a marketplace. And that pathway is almost always paved with other people's opinions. And that's super hard to take when this is your baby that you spent 20 years writing or whatever. But I guarantee you that if somebody is going to help you put your product in the marketplace, they will have opinions about it that they think are just as important as you think your precious baby is. So you're going to have to figure out whether or not you want to put it in the marketplace or you want it to be perfect and yours.
It's hard to read this because I fucked up the chat, but Howard brings up a good point. He always thinks of Harlan Ellison's famous quote, pay the writer, unquote speech. When he writes a script for an independent filmmaker, if they're not making money off it, he's fine with just a credit. If they're making money, wants a piece, or not giving them a script. Yeah, that's great. And that's a huge part. This is some of the stuff Rob and I are working on. If we can find people who are making a movie and nobody's making any fucking money, we're all in. Let's go. We're part of the crew. Let's do this thing. If somebody's like, this is a $10 million budget and we're going to make X amount, I'm like,
but you'll get exposure.
No, fuck you. Pay us.
Yeah.
Fuck you, pay me. But also, I'm at the point in my career where I can say, fuck off. You know what, dude? Fuck you, pay me. Do you want my work or not? Fuck you, pay me. And we've got a couple of these things going on with us right now. If I had no credits, no books, no stories, no nothing, I would consider putting in a fuck ton of hours to write a screenplay to get that goddamn credit so that the next person I go to, like, no, I already have them. I did a feature. Pay me.
Yeah.
It's these things, incremental things add up. The trick is to know when to stop saying, yeah, I'll work for free and start getting paid.
So I think that this brings to a close this episode, this sort of weird new formatted episode of So You Want to Be a Writer. If you want to, if this is the first time you've seen So You Want to Be a Writer in Scott's YouTube feed, go find the playlist. There are 6 others that were written a handful of years ago, and we'll be adding more in the next little while, I think.
I look young and fresh. I have great hair in these videos, by which I mean my big bald head. But they're very good. I think
Bonnie
they apply.
Burton's in the chat room.
The legendary Bonnie Burton.
Oh my goodness!
We have a just to give you some perspective. We have a person in the chat room who writes for fucking Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Like
published zillions of books.
Published Star Wars creator, because there are ebbs and flows all over the place, and you know, like Bonnie says, like I do this a lot.
Good to see you.
I'm studying people right now who are half my age, 2/3 my age, who are having success. Marketplace is always changing. You have to always watch what's going on. There is a time when you feast, a time when you famine. You always got to watch, and you know, I'm getting distracted. But anyways, the point is, you got to get to a place to be a thing, to demand money for a thing. Once you're there, it's a different conversation. Once you're there, it's a different conversation.
So that's the end of the portion of So You Want to Be a Writer of
God damn it, Rosa. Yes, I had gorgeous hair. Gorgeous.
Sigler in Place. Thank you guys for watching. But now we'll finish Sigler in Place. So this was a hybrid sort of an episode where we didn't do Slay content, but we're going to do this. This
next
will
week,
pop
Slay
up.
is
Slay will come back next week. And these things, these sort of not exactly Q&A sessions will pop up here and there during the Slay podcasting. But also, don't worry, we're still going to have normal Sigler in Place episodes peppered into either while he reads a short cycle of Slay. We'll still do pup dates. We'll still do all that stuff. Obviously, the format has changed a little in 2023. We're really glad you're still with us. I think we're going to wrap it up since we're past
Let me just
address.
We're going to address Chris McWhite's full of wonderful information. Chris McWhite says, I love what you said. I'm assuming that's before typo about your former agent telling you not to podcast. My former agent said, I don't think you should. I'm not going to do his voice. I don't think you should podcast because that compromises your audio rights for these particular properties that you are giving away for free. Turned out, great advice, wasn't correct. The industry changed. But I was also like, I'm fighting against obscurity. I can go out and give this thing away, get a big audience, then go write something else when I have a big audience. That worked out for me. So we practice what we preach to. We've given away, I'd say, $8 billion worth of content.
And a short additional note to that. In the time since Scott's first agent gave him that advice, and now, Andy Weir has written many books and movies. And that all started, if you read The Martian, That was a 10-year-long project on Andy Weir's personal website.
Yep.
Because both of his parents are astrophysicists, and he was trying to figure out how it would get to take to how if he could figure out what it would take to get to Mars. That's how this project started. It was all published on his website for free for a decade before The Martian was purchased. Amanda Hawking published a zillion things for free, and then those exact things were purchased for $1 million by the big six publishers back in the day. And we see this time and time again. Twilight started as fan fiction. We see it over and over again. So that advice is no longer playing out. It's easier for an agent to bring a fantastic and completely novel product to the work, to the environment, to the place, but it's unnecessary.
Get in the gym. Get in the gym and do those reps. Don't be a girly man. Do your reps. Get it. Can you throw it down for him? Ready? Oh, there we go.
I have no game face, you guys. I mean, zero game face. You just saw it. Scott,
I've had too many concussions. I can't do the head shake that she can do. It really hurts my head, so I have a lot of it when she do it.
Let me correct myself. Bonnie, you're correct. 50 Shades of Grey not Twilight. 50 Shades of Grey started out as fan fiction. I misspoke there.
I got hammered with that author once at a con.
I know.
Oh my God, she was the best. She was so much fun. It was great. Okay.
So we are done for this week. Thank you guys so much for putting up with our new format changes this year. We love to hang out with you. If you have anything you want to share with us and want to bring that we like pictures or celebrations or topics
like this
or things like
because
that.
Because I can't do Slay every week. I've got all kinds of crazy shit going on right now. So some weeks I get too busy. But with this topic, good job. You crushed the shit out of this, baby. Way to go.
So send in any ideas for other things if you're a writer that you want us to talk about or you want specifically.
Dominique Walker's the best.
Dominique Walker just made a tip because she says advice so good you should charge for it. We will be back on February 1st, which is next Wednesday. We are no longer doing an item of the week. I know, Christine McCullough, if you're still watching, I was going to bring cheesecake, but the script got so big that we didn't have time for cheesecake, and I didn't want him eating and talking on camera because he would have had to do both. Don.
Missed you too.
But we're definitely going to have a Slay episode, number 7, next week.
Yep.
And we are going to probably have updates.
And I will tell you that Slay episode is action-packed, balls to the wall, crazy stuff. So it's bonkers.
We already have pup dates and Siglebrations already in the hopper from things that happened this past week. So if you want to send in stuff to celebrate, I would love to celebrate you guys as long as you show up and have fun with us. So until then, though,
we want you to stay smart.
We absolutely need you to stay science. It seems like things are getting better, but
don't trust the motherfuckers, man. This advice I give to you guys is don't be afraid of working for free and don't trust those motherfuckers, man. Listen to people who know what the fuck they're talking about. Oh, we got to switch back over. Oh, it's that. Oh, the color's off.
And
for the love of science, stay informed. And you can all kiss off into the sky.
We love you guys.
We're going to go hang out and have a couple of scotches and play Fortnite. That's what we're going to do.
I'm learning to play Fortnite.